I do want to ask you, Ambassador, there was the first ever recently, the high-level meetings that happened between the United States and Russia. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he met with your foreign minister, Mr. Sergei Lavrov, in Riyadh. I believe there are further meetings happening in Turkey this week. What is the state that you can tell our viewers about how soon we can see a settlement to this war, what the parameters or conditions might be as to how we see the end of this war, and what does India take away from this rapprochement between Russia and the United States?
My take is that this process would be very cautious on both ends and would probably not be very quick. But it is a good development, a positive development that we see on the part of the Trump administration, that it is prepared not only to listen but to hear, and is prepared to sit and talk on the basis of mutual respect and talk about the solution that would be beneficial to both ways, would bring the peace process closer, peace process in Europe closer. We are now have just started. Ukraine issue is not the only one. We have said that we need to first re-establish the direct contacts between Russia and the US. Mm-hmm. And this is the very thing that we are focused on now. We need to ensure the full-fledged, smooth operations of the embassies in both countries so that the dialogue is maintained on a constant basis. Of course, in due course, we will focus on the peaceful solution for the crisis in Europe.
Prime Minister Modi famously a couple of years back had told President Putin on the sidelines of an SCO summit that this is not the era of war, it's the era of peace. Given that Prime Minister Modi and India, one of the few countries in the world right now that have good equations, both with Russia as well as with Ukraine, and Prime Minister visited both Moscow and Kiev just in the last year, do you see any kind of role that India can play as a neutral arbiter in ending this war?
India has been very consistent in its approach, has maintained, as you say, the contacts with all the parties concerned, has shown the goodwill and the positive intention towards the peaceful resolution through diplomatic means, has always called for that. We value that very much. India has indicated that it would be prepared to play a role provided that the parties involved are comfortable and with that and are willing to engage India more substantially in the peace process. So far it has not come up with some kind of a plan, mm-hmm. But has indicated that it is prepared to be helpful. We support that, and at the moment, naturally, we are focused on the dialogue with the US, which is the decisive party apart from us in terms of bringing the peaceful resolution closer into effect.
So over the last 3 years since this conflict began, India also received a lot of flack for its votes in the United Nations, for purchase of Russian oil, so on and so forth. Do you think now that even the United States has come to the conclusion that we need to find a peace, we need to find a a just and a durable peace and bring this war to a conclusion, that India's position has been vindicated, that India, the position that it took through these last 3 years, that position has been vindicated by time?
Well, I think this is more a question to the Indian side, but if you ask me, I think that India has done a right thing to, especially not to side with one of the parties.
Correct.
Especially avoiding to side with the belligerent party, which is now represented by Europe.
I want to also, in the previous answer you said, so far there's been no proposal that has come forth from India. If India were to make a proposal for peace, would Russia be open to considering it?
We have said that we would be open. Foreign Minister Lavrov publicly said that, and President Putin has also indicated that we are open to consider all serious proposals directed towards peaceful resolution of the conflict. But all these proposals, including the process that we have started with the US, should, of course, address the root causes of the conflict, not just be directed at an immediate ceasefire without the without the talks on how to resolve the reasons that are at the base of this conflict. So the peace would come if we are able to find a mutually acceptable solution of those problems, that security problems and other problems that exist around Ukraine and in Europe, the root causes that led to the escalation of the conflict in 2022. The war started for the eastern parts of Ukraine way back in 2014, not in 2022.
Correct.
So the issue is much more complex than it may seem at first glance.